Do so many Americans assume everybody else on the internet is also American? In addition to the other good responses, many Americans greatly underestimate just how many people outside Anglophone countries are fluent in English and just how many Anglophone countries there actually are. Largely this is because people don't leave much. So when you comment in good English, the odds are high and the average American thinks you are also American. They export significantly more than they import, of almost everything. So the average US person has considerably less international exposure than the average person from another country has about only the US. It's simply not on their radar unless they actively go out and search for it, which many do not. As such, they speak in terms of what they know, which is more often than not American. To be fair on them as a non-American, I kinda also presume most of the people on Reddit are American, unless it's stated otherwise or just super obvious. I guess because to me the vast majority just sort of do seem to be from the US from their comments and how they type and talk to each other, so I do get why they may think and feel that. Especially on a US-owned website, the average American probably does just presume every other English speaker is one of them, just in a different state, as they seem to treat and talk about different US states as other countries, almost so being in an actual other country is an even bigger stretch of the imagination that probably just doesn't occur to them most of the time from just reading a random comment that doesn't jump out as foreign. I'm Canadian and I also assume everyone on the internet is American. Up until right this minute, I literally had no idea there even were other continents, let alone countries. The eagle that lives in my head, he made a nest out of my hair, is pecking my shoulder to get me to stop typing because it's against the law for Americans to ever talk about anything other than America, or to know that there is anything other than America. If I don't stop in the next 3 seconds, I'll get kidnapped and sent into exile. Their entire life, if they traveled 1,500 miles, they'd still be in America. Entertainment most often was designed around or at least blended into their culture. The idea is that they rarely have had to consider other countries in their day-to-day lives. Reddit is a US-based site and really just playing the odds, on top of a great number of other responses. I'll add this, which is internet-centric. The totally reasonable expectation that the platforms and services we are using are regionalized. Some are, some aren't, and there's no communication from the providers as to the state of things. For other, significantly more internationally aware areas, like European countries, it's basically an expectation that everything you do and interact with is filled with incredible diversity. The US is huge, the largest economy in the world, and covers a substantial landmass. Many Americans never leave their own state despite driving 10 hours in one direction, let alone going to another country. We're simply not exposed to other cultures. I just find it annoying when they shorten their states because it matches where I live and I go, oh wait, no American. A few reasons. 1. Most of the social media people in the US encounter skews American, either by overall demographics or via algorithm. 2nd, you're typing in English, and we're ignorant. So unless you're using blatantly bad syntax or idioms not commonly found here, odds are fairly high that you could be American. 3rd, for most Americans, places outside of America don't really exist, largely because we will never see them. We have trouble accepting the existence of states that are more than 2 away from our own. For reference, we can deal with about the distance from Portugal to the southwest of France. Much more than that, we just take your word for it. We are obviously aware of other continents and countries. The US is enormous. However, we could travel it our entire lives and not get bored. I just went from my cold area to a tropical one for spring break with my son. Would have taken 21 hours of non-stop driving. And it took a decent amount of plane travel. And I'm not even traveling through 50% of the country. Not even a third. Simply going from somewhere not at the top to somewhere at the bottom. So we do have a bit of an isolationist viewpoint simply because we are quite isolated. If you aren't on a neighboring state, you don't think about Mexico or Canada. And finally, Reddit has mostly American users. By a long shot when looked at by country. I think near 50%. If I have a 1 in 2 chance of being right, it's easier to assume situations are American. I look for cues such as how words are written, grammar mistakes most English speakers don't make, and references to things I don't say. Pram. Lift. Okay, we are from the UK most likely. If I don't see anything obvious, I assume American. If it offends you, I have to listen to Europeans and others discuss how much America and Americans suck all the time. On here. Most haven't left the state they from. I think this is the most frustrating when an American is asked where they're from. They then give a 2-letter abbreviation of their state. Not even list their country. Just straight to the 2 letters. Not even write the state name out or anything. Completely assuming an international platform of people will know what they're talking about. I find it so interesting. US defaultism. To quote a German airbase, we're all living in America. Why do so many non-Americans assume that so many Americans assume everybody else on the internet is also American? I've seen a lot of good responses. One thing I could think of is a lot of people I know are only on Facebook and a few other social medial sites where you have a friends list and it's usually people you know, with the majority living at least semi-close to you. So in that sense, a lot of Americans are used to engaging in social media that is a lot closer to home. Reddit is pretty much worldwide. You don't necessarily have a friends list like Instagram or FB. Could at least be contributing to the issue. US defaultism. I am 100% going to generalize here, but some Americans' view of the world is very small. Go to Missouri for example. And NY and California and Portland are virtually foreign countries to some PPL you'll meet there. Never mind an actual foreign country. They don't even have a grid for that. It's partly a result of being the world superpower for a couple generations though. Most countries feel the impact of foreign nations in the international community and are quite aware of their place in it. It's also geography. USA is huge. PPL don't even need to leave it and a bunch don't. Or they do, but to resorts and on cruises. Finally, I think internet and social media platforms like Reddit did start in the US with 100% American content, and PPL don't always realize how much it's changed. I mean, you can't always tell just from reading posts and comments. Edit to add last paragraph. Because you're on our internet. It evolved from a US military project.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.